On the surface, it would seem that I have told you nothing so far. I've told you that there's this vital information that people should know and that we should give it away for free. And the initial assumption or the initial expectation of that is to tell you what product or what supplement to buy, what foods to start eating, or and what workout to do, and put all those together in a nice list and just hand it over to you. But like I keep trying to, speak about, is that would be a lie. And that's not how most people, if not everyone, can't start there, because most of the things you need to do to start are internal. And a lot of those internal things are really tough conversations to have with yourself. Like the big one is, why do you want to do what you want to do? What is your purpose for doing that? Those two things are a lot easier than the next two, which are, where are you starting and how did you start there? Those things are real internal, personal, honest conversations that people need to have with themselves, because most people have no idea what they want to do. They have what they want, but they don't know what they're really asking their body to do. And on the surface, what they really want might be something deeper that they really need to dig into. And having that conversation with yourself is often difficult because most people's goals are external, right? What they look like, what they can see. That's the, I would say, like, that's the number one thing that people approach, and it's also the thing that we mostly marketed. Like, that's what you see in most of the advertising. Very attractive people, working out and getting these goals, and it's this many days, and this is what they did, and it's this long list. But the problem with that is you just can't throw that on top of something that hasn't been looked at or had a real precise, honest look at itself. Because when you don't do that, you don't know what you're aiming at. When you say that you want to lose weight, and oftentimes when people say they want to lose weight, it's something like 5 to 10 pounds. It's always 5 to 10 pounds. But then when you ask them, well, why 5 to 10 pounds? They really don't have an answer for it, because again, they didn't do the hard work first. They never established their purpose. They never established why they want to do it. They never established where they're starting from and why they started there in the first place. What got them there? What years, what months, what behavior got them to where they are right now? Because it's hard to have that, because it's a hard realization of, like, I potentially have let this happen. And a lot of people don't want to do that with themselves. So until you establish your purpose, your why, where you started, and how you got there in the first place, anything you throw on top of it is not going to be as successful as it could be. And it might not even move forward, because when it comes to your goals, if everything is external, your efforts and everything you put first, like, you don't see a physical change right out the gate. And a lot of people, when they've been doing something for a week or 2 weeks or even a month, and they don't see the physical change, and that's what they tied their purpose to, they stop, because they're not realizing the change that may happen, because they didn't put something more internal, more deeper in front of it to keep themselves going when the external piece doesn't happen right out the gate. And like I said before, it's really, really tough to do that, because with diet, with exercise, it's a constant up and down scale, and it's a lot of trial and error right out the gate. You're trying new things, you're trying to see what works, you're trying to fit it into your life, see if you can, mimic and be consistent with these things, and that really takes time. And you may be putting forth a lot of effort, a lot of effort. You may be disciplined in everything you do, but the physical change isn't happening. So if you don't have something to tie that to that's deeper than that, you're going to quit. Like me, for example. The assumption is, if you look at me, is that the external piece is my primary focus. That'd be the easiest thing to market, but it isn't for me. My purpose is to stay available, and that's stay available for my son, my wife, my family, my business partner, Delico James. And I need to stay available because my job, my responsibility, is to acquire resources and give those resources to the people I love and the people I care about. If I don't take care of myself, if I'm unwell, if I'm sick, the resources I'm required now have to be put to me to take better care of myself. And I don't do my overall purpose of taking care of my family. Because as I get older, my arms are going to get smaller potentially, unless I keep forth a pretty big effort to keep going with that. My body's going to change. And if my primary focus is external, I'm going to stop doing this. But if I keep my primary focus, my purpose, my why I'm doing this thing, more internal for what I'm doing in a deeper purpose, it's easier to keep this thing going, because most people unfortunately put all their eggs into the external basket. They'll be disciplined. They'll get up for 6 a.m. workouts all the time. They'll be consistent for weeks and months. They'll have their diet under control. They'll have their rest under control. They'll have this long list of things that they're doing right. But if the scale hasn't budged, if they don't look different, this long list of great things that they have done just gets tossed out the window. And everything is focused on the external piece. And it's really, really hard to not do that. I don't blame people for doing it, but the real hard work has to start with what your purpose is, why you're doing it. It's not a sexy answer. And the harder one, where you started and how did you get there? You have to start with those things. It'll keep you focused. It'll keep you driven when the external piece does not come right away. Because just giving you a laundry list of eat this, work out like that, and then just handing it to you, the truth of the matter of it, those things just don't stick that well because they're at a constant rate of always adjusting as your body changes, as things changes, as you have to adapt and keep things consistent, and you may need to change things intricately as you're doing them for the actual physical piece to happen. And these things are really tough because they're hard to market. It's easier to market like, hey, do this exercise, you'll look like this. Eat this, you'll start to look like that. The real work is internal. The real work starts there. And it really starts with asking yourself the right questions, the real honest questions, or having someone ask you the right question. Oftentimes when people come in, what they think they're trying to aim at, because again, people don't really know what they're aiming at. They think they do, but they really don't as far as like what's required. When you start asking them questions, real honest questions about, okay, oh, I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was 6 months ago. Well, how did that happen? Oh, I don't know. Well, let's dig deeper. What's work like? What's the family life like? What's the social life like? What do you do when you get home? You start to dig a little deeper, and the real questions start to give real answers. Then we can start getting to a purpose for this. Then when you put a plan forward, it's easy to carry out because you're not so attached to the external piece that doesn't come forward. That's the starting part. That's the vital information I have to tell you. It's not sexy. It's not easy to digest, but the first thing you need to start with is you have to start internal. You have to look within. And you have to be honest with yourself about what your purpose is, why it is your purpose, where you're starting, and how did you start there. That's where you need to start.